First, the woman was, so to speak, a personal being, what's known in our time as a human. She lived a long time, too long finally. She once had children, a husband, a family, relations, everything around her was at the boil. There were all these smiles, so to speak, and suddenly, total zero, everything's gone smash. She's left alone, like some sort of fly bearing a curse from time immemorial. And then, finally, God brings her to an end. At sunset, on a quiet summer evening, my old woman also flies away. Of course, this is not without its moralizing idea, and at that very moment, instead of, so to speak, a farewell tear, this desperate young lieutenant, jaunty and arms akimbo, sees her off the face of the earth with the Russian element of riotous abuse over a lost bowl. No doubt I was at fault, and though, owing to the distance in time and to changes in my character, I've long regarded my deed as someone else's, I nevertheless continue to regret it. So that, I repeat, I find it strange, the more so as, even if I am at fault, it's not so completely. Why did she decide to die precisely at that moment? Naturally, there's some excuse here, that the deed was in a certain sense psychological, but all the same I never felt at peace until I began, about 15 years ago, to keep two permanent sick old women at my expense in the almshouse, with the purpose of easing their last days of earthly life by decent maintenance. I intend to leave capital for it in perpetuity. Well, sirs, that's all. I repeat that I may be to blame for many things in life, but I consider this occasion, in all conscience, the nastiest deed of my whole life. And instead of the nastiest, Your Excellency has told us one of the good deeds of your life. You've hoodwinked Ferdishchenko. Concluded Ferdishchenko? Indeed, General, I never imagined that you had a good heart after all. It's even a pity, Nastasia Philippovna said casually. A pity? Why is that? Asked the general, laughing amiably and sipping, not without self-satisfaction, from his champagne. But now it was Afanasy Ivanovitch's turn, and he, too, was prepared. They could all tell beforehand that he would not decline like Ivan Petrovich, and, for certain reasons, they awaited his story with particular curiosity and at the same time with occasional glances at Nastasia Philippovna. With extraordinary dignity, which fully corresponded to his stately appearance, in a quiet, amiable voice, Afanasy Ivanovitch began one of his charming stories. Incidentally speaking, he was an impressive, stately man, tall, slightly bald, slightly gray-haired, and rather corpulent, with soft, ruddy, and somewhat flabby cheeks and false teeth. He wore loose and elegant clothes, and his linen was of astonishing quality. One could not have enough of gazing at his plump white hands. On the index finger of his right hand there was an expensive diamond ring. All the while he was telling his story, Nastasia Philippovna intently studied the lace on the ruffle of her sleeve and kept plucking at it with 2 fingers of her left hand, so that she managed not to glance at the storyteller even once. What facilitates my task most of all, Afanasy Ivanovitch began, is that I am duty-bound to tell nothing other than the worst thing I've done in my whole life. In that case, naturally, there can be no hesitation, conscience and the heart's memory straightway prompt one with what must be told. I confess with bitterness that numbered among all the numberless, perhaps light-minded and flighty deeds of my life, there is one the impression of which weighs all too heavily on my memory. It happened about 20 years ago. I had gone then to visit Platon Ordintsev on his estate. He had just been elected Marshal 40 and had come there with his young wife for the winter holidays. Anfisa Alexievna's birthday also fell just then, and 2 balls were planned. At that time an enchanting novel by Dumas Fils had just become terribly fashionable and made a great deal of noise in high society, La Dame aux Camélias, 41, a poem which, in my opinion, will never die or grow old. In the provinces all the ladies admired it to the point of rapture, those at least who had read it. The enchanting story, the originality with which the main character is portrayed, that enticing world, so subtly analyzed, and, finally, all those charming details scattered through the book, for instance, about the way bouquets of white and pink camellias are used in turn, in short, all those enchanting details, and everything together, produced almost a shock. The flowers of the camellia became extraordinarily fashionable. Everyone demanded camellias, everyone sought them. I ask you, can one get many camellias in the provinces, when everyone demands them for balls, even though the balls are few? Petya Vorkovskoy, poor fellow, was then pining away for Anfisa Alexievna. I really don't know if there was anything between them, that is, I mean to say, whether he could have had any serious hopes. The poor man lost his mind over getting camellias for Anfisa Alexievna by the evening of the ball. Countess Sotsky, from Petersburg, a guest of the governor's wife, and Sophia Bespalov, as became known, were certain to come with bouquets of white ones. Anfisa Alexievna, for the sake of some special effect, wanted red ones. Poor Platon nearly broke down. A husband, you know, he promised to get the bouquet, and, what then? It was snapped up the day before by Mitashchev, Katerina Alexandrovna, a fierce rival of Anfisa Alexievna's in everything. They were at daggers drawn. Naturally, there were hysterics, fainting fits. Platon was lost. It was clear that if Petya could, at this interesting moment, procure a bouquet somewhere, his affairs would improve greatly. A woman's gratitude on such occasions knows no bounds. He rushes about like crazy, but it's an impossible thing, no use talking about it. Suddenly I run into him at 11 in the evening, the night before the birthday and the ball, at Marya Petrovna Zubkov's, a neighbor of the Ordyntsevs. He's beaming. What's with you? I found it. Eureka! Well, brother, you surprise me. Where? How? In Ikshaysk, a little town there, only 15 miles away, and not in our district. There's a merchant named Trepalov there, bearded and rich, lives with his old wife, and no children, just canaries. They both have a passion for flowers, and he's got camellias. Good heavens, there's no certainty there. What if he doesn't give you any? I'll kneel down and grovel at his feet until he does, otherwise I won't leave. When are you going? Tomorrow at daybreak, 5 o'clock. Well, God be with you. And I'm so glad for him, you know, I go back to Ordyntsev's, finally, It's past 1 in the morning and I'm still like this, you know, in a reverie. I was about to go to bed when a most original idea suddenly occurred to me. I immediately make my way to the kitchen, wake up the coachman Savely, give him 15 rubles, have the horses ready in half an hour.